Good morning, House. Hope we had a wonderful night rest. We are welcome to today's class. Drum rolls for all of us. Mr. Kiton, you are highly welcome. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your time. We are truly grateful, and we do not take it for granted. Sincerely, at this part of the world that we are sending a lot of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for showing up. We are grateful. So everyone, our instructor is here, and thank you, Engineer Emmanuel, for that session. We will continue in next class, or probably after the end of the class. So today we have Mr. Kiton Ajayi, and he's going to be taking us today through monitoring, threat detection, and incident response. Mr. Kiton is a cybersecurity and infrastructure engineer with experience securing enterprise systems, cloud environment, and network infrastructure. His expertise spans AWS and Azure cloud security, identity and access management, IAM, is SIEM engineering, threat detection and response, and vulnerability management. He has collaborated closely with infrastructure and IT teams to design secure architectures, implement security controls, and strengthen organizational security posture against evolving threats. Mr. Kiton is particularly passionate about threat hunting, detection tuning, and detection tuning and mentoring aspiring cybersecurity professionals by breaking down complex concepts into practical real-world application. The last two lines I just mentioned is exactly what he's here to do for us, to help us break down all of those things. Engineer Emmanuel was trying to tell us some things. So help us break down some of those things that he has mentioned, and to help us see how we can apply this knowledge in real world um, system. So thank you so much, Mr. Kiton. We are so grateful. Sincerely, we do not take your sacrifice and your time for granted. So everyone, before Mr. Kiton join, please help me to say thank you, because I know and the founder knows that we are saying thank you to him. So please, with an emoji, help us say thank you to Mr. Kiton for joining. So Mr. Kiton, please, over to you, sir.
Hi, thank you very much for that. I'm very happy to be here. I think this is more of an honor and a privilege for me. So, yeah, are we good? Can we hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
sir.
Okay. So, good morning, everybody. I think it's around afternoon at your end. My name is Kito Ajayi, and I've been in cybersecurity for a while. I've I've worked like the bio said, I've worked with threat detection, I've worked with cloud security, I've worked a lot because I actually started my career out in network engineering. And so it's just basically been transitioning between various parts. Recently I consulted for KPMG US here for an incident response role, a 9 month role, consultation role. So yeah, that's basically been my experience. So who here has cybersecurity experience? I want this to be as interactive as possible. So please feel free to unmute your mic, ask questions, contribute. So I'll start. Please, who has some cybersecurity experience? And tell me what you've done before.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good.
Do you have any cybersecurity experience?
I'm just uh I'm just learning like the basic through these classes. So
Okay, good,
what
good.
I've been able to know is just about detecting vulnerabilities and and some basics about cybersecurity. Yes, sir.
Cool. So our topic for today will be discussing SOC monitoring, detection, threat detection, and incident response. Right. So The class is going to be split into two parts. I still am going to try and figure out how we can hold the practical session because there's so much technicalities involved in setting up, naturally setting up each of these accounts, setting up the software and all of that. And so we'll go into that. But our agenda for today, the theory side, we'll talk about SOC basics and team structure. We'll talk about understanding logs. We'll talk about SIEM. We'll talk about how SOC teams detect threats. We'll talk about incident response and incident response lifecycle. So like I said again, please feel free to interrupt me anytime. If you have a question, please ask it. If you have anything that you are unsure of, please feel free to let me know. Right. So what's a SOC? A SOC is basically short for Security Operations Center. It is a centralized unit within an organization that deals with cybersecurity on an operational level, right? So with people who are familiar with other IT services, there's also something called a NOC, Network Operating Center. That's basically the hub of networking. So it's completely similar to how it works in cybersecurity. So imagine it as a security control room. If you go to, would I say like a mall or a church or a large building or like a building complex, these building complexes have a security room where there are CCTV cameras that have feeds and TVs and all of that, right? So imagine a SOC as that, a security operations center as that. But instead of having cameras and all of that, we are watching logs and system activity. Do we understand?
Yes, sir.
Please send a reaction. Okay, good. Thank you
Yes,
very much.
sir.
Thank you. Right. So I'll just give basic points. So a SOC is composed of three different aspects, or would I say three different branches, right? And so obviously there's the people, there's the processes, and the technology, right? And so before I go into all of that, I'll just tell you that the basic goal of any SOC team is to minimize the impact of security incidents. And it is very vital that some teams don't call it SOC, right? They just call it a cybersecurity team. But basically, in larger companies, they have a specialized SOC team that typically handle how security operations go. And because we're in the 21st century, the whole world is moving towards technology. Everything is online, everything is technology based. And so as that technology base is increasing, the attack surface area is also increasing. So what's attack surface area is your exposure to attack, right? So say before we used to use emails, we used to send mail by PO box, right? We used to mail them physically. That in some way, even though it's more complex, it's more time trivial, is less efficient, right? You know that if I'm sending an email to, so say from Lagos to Ibadan, you're almost certain that your content, the content of that email, if there's no changes, all other things being equal, right? The person in Ibadan gets exactly what you send them from Lagos, right? But with the age of technology, there's now emails, right? So somebody can pretend to be coming from Lagos and they say, oh, this is LCI Lagos headquarters. We're sending an email to Ibadan headquarters because we need to pay a particular vendor for whatever services they render to us, right? Somebody else can act and pretend that they are LCI Lagos HQ. And so what do we call that kind of attack? Does anybody know what we call that kind of attack? Anybody just unmute and say what you think you call that kind of attack? Where somebody uses an
Like
email to
impersonating,
compromise.
like impersonating.
Sorry? I'm sorry, I heard somebody saying something. Please come again.
Like I said, impersonating attack.
Yeah, right. Impersonation. That's what it's called, and it's a crime, right? So that kind of attack is called a phishing attack. Has anybody ever heard what phishing is before? PHISHING. Has anybody ever heard
Yeah,
that before? Yeah,
fake
I'm
emails.
saying Osumboye, right? I think Kennedy or something. Perfect. So yeah, that's what a phishing attack is, right? And so with the advantage of technology, teams, companies have to create a specialized cybersecurity team, because if you look at how it was before, they just used to call them IT, and it was same people handling web development, same people handling network, same people handling what we now call security and the likes, right? And so I was saying that a SOC team is comprised of the people, the processes, and the technology. And there are different types of SOC analysts. So once you are deep into cybersecurity and you decide that you want to do SOC, there's a level 1 security SOC analyst, the level 2 SOC analyst, and level 3 SOC analyst. So level 1 typically is the entry level guys. Those are the guys that do the groundwork. They do the triaging. Triaging is TRIAGE. And basically what it means is that you are looking through alerts, you are sorting through logs, you are scanning. So you are doing the dirty work, right? And so if there's a problem, so say if you notice there's an impending attack, what you do is you escalate to a level 2 SOC analyst, right? So different companies have how they segregate these job roles, how they segregate these duties, right? And so for some different severity, if it's a severity 3, some companies prefer that, they give it to a level 2 SOC analyst and thereby. So there's also threat hunters. I'll go into that in the later slides when I'm talking about threat detection. There's also IR specialists. IR means incident response. And I'll also go into incident response later, but I'll talk about an incident. An incident is any breach of proper security policy, right? So it is either maybe one of our servers is down, maybe we are having a ransomware attack. It could be a different variety of things, right? And there's the SOC manager. That's who the level 1, level 2, and level 3 reports to. Yeah. And so process. So there are things called runbooks and playbooks. Are you following? Please just let me know if you can hear me. Just maybe send a thumbs up emoji. Okay, perfect. Does anybody have any questions from what I've explained? Does anybody have any questions from what I've explained? Okay, so I'll take that as no questions. Right. So process. There are things called runbooks and playbooks, right? So what's a runbook or a playbook? When a security incident occurs, it is very important to jot down the documentation of these things, right? It is standard security procedure. If there's a security incident now, from detection to resolution, you are logging every single activity that has been carried out from the scratch by different teams. But I say the network team, this is what they do. Cybersecurity team, this is what they do. Incident response team, this is what they do. There are some security incidents that you need to involve legal team. Companies typically have legal teams. So there's some incidents where you have to involve your legal team. Say there was a breach and customer information is out there. Say maybe Zenith Bank is hacked. Zenith Bank has to, in good faith, involve their legal team because this is more than a security incident. They are liable. If 10 customers say they want to seize Zenith Bank is going to be found liable. So everybody is looking at, okay, how can we put a stopgap to this? How can we slow this down, right? And so that's what a runbook is called. And so why this happens is so that for future purposes, if there is a future incident that repeats, there is already a guideline. Do we understand? Are we following?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So there's already a documented path for people to follow, right? So say there's a repeat of that kind of incident, instead of having to sort out things one by one, like trying to figure out from the detection. So can anybody tell me one kind of security attack that they know? I already spoke about phishing. Can somebody see anybody who has an idea? Don't be scared to be wrong. This is a learning class. There's really no wrong answer.
Man in the middle.
Is there somebody who is man in the middle? Perfect. So can you tell me what you think a man in the middle attack is? Or explain to the class what you think a man in the... Okay, I can see a question. I'll attend to that when this person speaking is done. Can you explain to the class what a man in the middle attack is? And so a man in the middle basically is a wiretap attack. I don't know if you know what a wiretap is, but it's where an attacker intercepts and even modifies data that has been exchanged between two parties, right? So what happens is that the attacker positions themselves between the two communicating entities and then masquerades themselves, just like Ibironke explained, masquerades themselves as one or even both parties When you are talking to A, you say you are B. When you are talking to B, you say you are A, right? To gain unauthorized access to sensitive information, like they said, maybe LCI information, sensitive information to LCI, or manipulate the communication. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to what I was saying. So I was trying to explain runbooks and playbooks. So say there's an incident like that that has occurred. If we detect another man-in-the-middle attack, because we have documentation, doesn't that make our work faster? So instead of trying to, because of course, when there's an incident, you have to look at the symptoms. Okay, what kind of incident is it? Is it maybe there's data exfiltration? Is, like I said, there's something called, I don't want to jump, but there's something called indicators of compromise. Those are the things you look at. To there are also symptoms. Like if somebody is sick now, before you determine what kind of sickness they have, you ask, oh, are you having a fever? Is your nose runny? Are you having stomach ache? And so it's from those symptoms that the doctor gives you a diagnosis. And that's the same way it works with cybersecurity. You look at the symptoms, and from those symptoms, or you look at the indicators of compromise, and it's from those things you determine what kind of attack it is and how to proceed. And so that's what is contained in runbooks or playbooks. Do we understand?
Yes, sir.
Are we
Yes.
following? Good, good. Thank you. So another process is called escalation paths. Does anybody have an idea, or does anybody want to try and tell me what they think an escalation path is? Anybody? There's no wrong answer. We're all learning here. I want somebody to speak so I don't start calling names. I'm sure you guys don't want me to call names, so somebody should just volunteer. No, there's no wrong answer. Absolutely no wrong answer. Nobody? Kende, I know you gave a good participation earlier, so I want you to help me answer
So
this
do it
question, please.
means like an emergency or as an or something like an urgency or something?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, does it relate to urgency? Maybe there's an emergency, something that needs to be to be treated with a matter of urgency.
Yes, yes, you have a point, right? So what an escalation path is, in the previous section, I was speaking about level 1, level 2, level 3 SOC analysts, right?
Oh, it's not about
So escalation is when there's a security incident.
authority.
I'm sorry? Are you speaking? Somebody speaking? Okay, as I was saying, when
That was
there's
a
a
mistake.
security incident, no problem. When there's a security incident, you need to know who do you escalate to. Like if you remember the previous scenario I gave, I spoke about involving the legal team. There's some type of security incidents where you have to loop in maybe the networking team. Maybe there's a server that's down and it's a customer facing server. So meaning that, so let's say it's an insurance company. People need to buy insurance policies. But if that server is down, the server that houses the web app, that company is going to run into loss, right? Because how it works is there's something called business impact analysis. Okay, I'll go into that later. Don't let me do step by step. So there's something called incidents response lifecycle. That's IR lifecycle, compliance reporting. I'll go into all of those things later. So now this part is very important. So I want you guys to pay attention, please. These are the technologies used in a SOC. And again, we said a SOC is a security operations center, right? And so now, what is a SIEM? I'm going to go into a SIEM, what a SIEM is later. Okay, yeah, I'll get to that later. But let me speak on what a SIEM is. So basically, a SIEM is a brain, right? So a security operations center has, okay, let me start from the others. EDR, endpoint detection and response. That's what EDR means, right? We know what firewalls are. Does anybody know or does anybody not know what a firewall is? Can you indicate if you don't know what a firewall is so I can explain? Okay, so I'll assume everybody knows what a firewall is. And IDS. IDS means intrusion detection system. There's also something called threat intelligence feeds, right? And so that comes into play when you're talking about threat hunting. And so a SIEM is a platform that houses all of these technologies, right? So I'm going to go on to explain that later on. But just take note of this part. This is going to be very important because we're going to come back to it. This technology, uh, this section. I want you to keep in mind. Now, okay, so I was speaking about this, about, when I was trying to explain, I was speaking about the different tiers of SOC responsibilities. I spoke about SOC 1, SOC 2, I spoke about the SOC manager. And so depending on the structure of the company, some companies have a tier 3 as the SOC analyst 3. Some have it as SOC lead, some have it as a SOC manager, some have it as a threat hunter, right? So because I've explained the first three, I wish there was a way I could annotate. Yeah, right. So because I've explained these first three, I'm going to skip it. Right? Are we fine with that? Or does anybody have any questions on these things? Because I've sort of explained each of these. So does anybody have any questions? So let me know so I can explain it. Please let me know. You are here to learn, so don't be scared to ask questions or to admit you don't know anything. Are we following? If you can hear me,
Yeah, you
please
can
put
just
a thumbs up.
summarize
Sir,
what everything is about.
the SOC lead and expert, it represent the L3, right?
Yeah,
Okay, sir.
exactly. Perfect. It represents that, the tier 3. Perfect. Any other person have a question? Nobody asked me what the 0-day response is. So I'm going to assume we all know it, right? Because I'm going to ask you guys. Every single person is going to try and answer. So if you don't know what a 0-day response is, please put a reaction in the chat. Okay. So don't say I just said they don't know. So I assume everybody except Kwam knows what a 0-day response is. Falasha, did you know what a 0-day response is? I need you guys to be interactive so this class doesn't get boring for you or for me. Because if it's just a teacher that's speaking, at least I don't teach that way. If it's just me that's speaking, then it's not a lecture, it's a mentorship, right? So I'm mentoring you, I'm not your lecturer. So I assume we all know what 0-day is, but for Kwam, a 0-day attack is a type of attack that has never been recorded before, right? And when I say never been recorded before, what I mean is that there's no available data on that kind of attack, not in the sense that it has never been done. So like I said earlier, technology is evolving, right? And I said about attack surface, meaning that as technology is evolving, there's different ways that systems and networks can be attacked, right? So where a 0-day attack is for one, that there's no prior documentation. That's why there's different bodies, Windows updates. There's different companies that update patches, right? That send patches to. That's why sometimes maybe you have an app. So let's say, what app do I have on my phone? Let's say Zoom. Zoom says, when you're trying to update, it says bug fixes and something like that, right? A lot of those times in those updates where you don't see significant change to your maybe UI or UX, what has happened is that they've issued a patch. And sometimes, I know WhatsApp does it, you are not allowed to proceed. Like, I can't remember if they still do it, but there was a time they used to say, oh, if you've not updated your app by April 15, you cannot continue to use the app because you're posing a security risk to them. You're making them liable. Do we understand?
Yes, sir.
Good, thank you. Right. So who is a threat hunter? Who is a threat hunter? A threat hunter is somebody whose primary role is to go online and look at places where the company can be vulnerable, right? Like I said, this could then be related to here, right? And so what's a threat hunter? Okay, don't let me go into detail on this. I'll explain when I'm explaining the SIEM. And then we spoke about an incident responder. Somebody who works in incident response is, like I said, this was actually my most recent project that I had to work with KPMG US. Most of what I did was sort of to be the bridge, right? And as opposed to, because back in Nigeria, how we do it is because of how the structure is, most companies don't want to spend money, they don't want to employ too much staff, they don't want to pay for the kind of work that they would require you to do. They sort of, maybe they have the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 into one person. Then maybe they have the threat hunter, incident response into one person. And then the SIEM engineer is also the SOC person. Do you understand? But it is more structured. It's actually much more structured than that. So most of what I was doing was say, okay, there was a time that we couldn't send outbound emails, right? The entire company-wide shut down. Imagine a company like KPMG cannot send outbound emails, right? And so what is the, how do I explain this? Can we hear me? Are we following?
Clearly, sir.
Yeah, good. So what is the repercussion? Can somebody tell me what the repercussion is when the company that large cannot send emails? Anybody wants to answer? Give me something random. Just say something, anything that comes to your mind. Because I feel like it's only 2 or 3 people that have been responding to me since. I don't know what are the others doing. Are they listening or they just joined the meeting for joining sake?
The question is if a company cannot send a bulk email, right?
Not bulk, but I was given an instance of an incident.
Okay.
There'll be lots of data.
Exactly. There'll be lots of data. Somebody else said something behind.
Like server congestion also.
Right. Perfect. Now that's even, I like that. I like it. Responses. Anybody else?
Issues with personal information. There will be like there will be use of personal information in the company.
So Kende, Kwam, and who was the first person that answered? There was the first person who answered before Kwam.
I was one trying to get the question. I didn't get the question, so I was trying to ask you to rephrase.
Okay. Ibirun KI coordinator, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're part of LCI. So those 2 people at the end of the session today, please remind me that I have something for both of you, Kwam and Kende, right? Let me just write both your names down so that I don't forget.
Is that I'll not say anything.
Don't worry, you will get something for you, Sha.
But I also respond, sir.
Who was that?
I say server congestion.
Who's that speaking now? I'm sorry, I can't see who's speaking.
Ajibade.
Was it you who's Ajibade? Okay, so I'll have 3 of you. Did Kende speak? Okay, so let's go again. Somebody said server congestion. Somebody said loss of data. I think it was Kwam who said loss of data.
Sir, I said loss of data.
Who said server congestion?
I mentioned server congestion, Ajibade.
Okay, so what did Kende speak, or is just me who's looking at a name and thinking that was the person who spoke? Okay, so I assume not.
Yes, I spoke.
What did you say?
Yes, I said it will cause issues with personal information. If a company cannot send out bulk images, bulk email. I said if a company cannot send out bulk emails, it will cause issues with personal information and ease of networking.
Okay, great. So 3 of you, I have something for you at the end of today's session, right? So just keep participating. And so, yeah, when I say outbound emails, I don't even mean bulk, right? So say the problem was that in a company, there's finance, there's HR, there's security, there's management, administration, there's front desk. Those are inbound, right? So how companies work is that there's an intranet. So you say care at lcicloudguardians.com. That lcicloudguardians.com is their domain. there's nothing that can happen to that domain, right? So it's just like a group chat. Everybody in that group chat should be able to communicate. That's how it's designed, because it's a domain, it's a single domain. But the problem becomes a problem when you cannot connect with people outside the group chat, right? So say you have a WhatsApp account and you cannot send messages to people outside the group chat, right? So maybe your uncle, your brother, your sister, your wife, right? And so how that becomes a problem is because for a company like that, they have their consulting company. So they have clients. They have clients who have deadlines. And so when you cannot reach out to your clients about deadlines, you're not just losing money because you have to, because it's not their fault. You're also losing customer trust. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you're also losing customer trust because they know that, oh, if they have a problem today and these guys are supposed to reach back out to us by maybe next week, Monday, there's a possibility they might not reach out to us or they might have problems. Instead, why don't we go to Deloitte? Why don't we go to EY? Why don't we go to another company? Do you understand? Do we understand? Are we following?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so there's incident responder, then there's the SIEM engineer, which I'll go into details later. So understanding logs. What is a log? A log is so basically I said it's the raw material of every investigation, right? And so primarily a log is a record of an event generated by networks, computers, and applications, right? So they are basically the fundamental data source for security monitoring and incident investigation. So in layman terms, a log is a record of something that happened. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Good. So I'll give an example because it might seem vague because it's not something you're familiar with. If we have a company and so say I'll use LCI again. Now let's use this meeting as our SOC. This Zoom meeting here is our SOC, right? And so I've had Quam respond for every response everybody makes. So it says by 9, okay, it's 7 a.m. here. So by 7 a.m., Quam said so. By 6:30, Kiton joined the meeting. 6:31, Kiton has been speaking. 7:02, Kiton stopped speaking. 6 a.m., Ibironke joined the meeting. 9 p.m., Emmanuel ended the meeting, right? So every single thing in a SOC, every single thing is logged, right? So we'll go into explanation of that when we're talking about the SIEM. I'm going to explain everything in depth. Please, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me. Feel free to ask me any questions. Feel free to tell me to go back because I'm here for you. All of the time I have this morning is to get this out of the way, right? So things like maybe somebody logged in, there was maybe a failed login, a file, even that a file was opened, is logged. Data was sent out, is logged, right? So logs are basically digital footprints, and every single person leaves a trace. Every single action leaves a trace. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly.
Right. And so why do logs matter? Let me see if I included that in the next slide. Okay, no, I didn't. So why do logs matter? I hope you are taking notes because I'm going to ask questions and people who answer my questions also get something. So why do logs matter? Logs matter because firstly, I want you to note this down. They provide a trail of evidence for security investigations, right? Like I said, if you remember when I was speaking earlier, I spoke about runbooks and playbooks. Let me even check who asked that question. I think I have something for that person too. How do I find the chat? That was Akiwumi Adedeji. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. So yes, basically they are the same. What do I call you? I'll assume Adedeji is your first name. Adedeji, can you hear me? If you can hear me, respond or mute yourself or something, so I know that I'm
Yes, I
explaining
can
to
hear
you
you.
directly. Sorry?
I can hear you.
Oh, can I call you Wumi? I didn't know you were a female. Wumi is
Yeah.
your first name, yeah? Good, good,
Yes.
good. So, eh, this is a perfect answer. I'm just seeing your questions. I'm going to add you to those three guys when you said communication breaks in the company. So I'm just going to add you. So that's 4 people I owe something. I think that's about the number I even have in my head. So yeah, so runbooks and playbooks are basically the same. Different companies call them different names, but they are basically documentation, right? And so I'm going to go back to have I answered your question? Wumi, have I answered
Yes,
your
it's clear now.
Okay.
It's clear. Thank you.
Yeah. So I was saying that they provide evidence for security investigation. So say there's an incident, I was explaining diagnosis. When there's a security incident, you have to look back at what happened. What are the things that happened? Was there a I'm trying to keep it as least technical as possible. But there's things like you have to look out does anybody know what an IP address is? Somebody
Yes.
unmute yourself and tell me what an IP address is.
Internet protocol. So
Okay. Who's speaking? Please give me your name. I don't think you want me to call you trading. What's your
Joseph,
name?
Mr.
Sorry?
Joseph,
Okay,
Joseph.
just all right. So what do IP addresses do?
Yes, sir.
What do you know what IP addresses do?
Yes, is a unique address for systems,
Okay, good.
assigned for systems in a network.
Joseph. Yeah, that's good. So an IP address is a unique identifier for every system in the network. So every single system has an IP address, right? And so that's how. So say there was a ransomware attack, and I don't know. This is the 7th week. I haven't followed how much progress you guys have made, and if you would know what these things are like. I mean, like cybersecurity fundamentals. So that's why I'm trying to be cautious with the terms I use. But for certain circumstances, there's things you need to look at to find out how that particular issue occurs. So sometimes you look at the event ID, you look at the domain name, you look at the email address. So all of these things are logged, right? So I'm just going to go back so that I don't spend too much time speaking on what you may not understand. Another reason why logs are important is because they are required for compliance. PCI DSS is something that holds banks. It's a compliance procedure that holds, but not just banks. Every company that operates with the use of a credit or debit card, right? HIPAA is for hospitals, for the healthcare. It means that it's a policy that ensures that your privacy. So, say if you have HIV and you don't want anybody to know, and you go and test in a hospital, it is their responsibility to keep that information personal without unless you give them consent to do otherwise. Then ISO 2701 is another policy documentation, right? And the last point here I have is enable forensic analysis after an incident. And like I said regarding the runbooks and playbooks, that's what comes into play, right? And so you want
Sir,
to go out.
sorry for cutting you short, Mr. Kito. We can't see your screen. No. We are see on this
You're
place,
saying
we are
what?
still in logs. Is it logs you are still explaining?
Yeah, types of
The
logs.
screen we are seeing here is logs.
Can you see types of logs?
Yes, type
Yeah,
of
sure.
logs.
Yeah, so that's why I said you should jot down because I didn't include that part in my slides.
Oh,
Do
sorry.
you understand? So that's why I wanted you to take notes. And that's why I've been repeating and explaining, because I didn't.
Can you please come again and summarize the question?
Okay. So I'm just going to list them, then I'll explain. So the first one, I was explaining why logs are important, right? So logs are important because they provide a trail of evidence for security investigations. Logs are important because they help detect anomalies and suspicious behavior. Logs are important because they are required for compliance. And logs are important because they enable forensic analysis after an incident. Does anybody have any questions? Did you get that? Did we get that?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
All right, good. So we're going to look at the types of logs, which is what is now on your screen. How many slides do we have left? I'm sorry, let me just, okay. We still have quite a couple. I think we're behind time. So there are different types of logs. Can somebody read out the first one that's on the screen?
System
System
logs,
logs,
Okay, let's just read everything all through together. Okay, system logs, then go on.
authenticator logs or auth logs,
Good,
application logs,
good,
then we have firewall or network, then DNS log, and lastly cloud logs.
good. So where do I start? So I'm going to start with system logs. These are basic logs. So say maybe there is an OS reboots, right? So system logs refer to basic operating system. These are like unique to each particular computer. I mean, the name implies system, so but it means that these are the kind of logs that are unique to every computer. So say the OS reboots is sending a log, right? Maybe there's a service that starts and stops. It sends a log. Maybe there's a login attempt, or there's a reboot, or whatever it is, right? There is a log that is present, and the location of this is, can you see this? Can you see a red highlighter surrounding
yes, sir.
something?
Yes.
Good. So this is where the logs are stored. I would have loved us to do a practical if anybody had Linux on their computer. In fact, you can open PowerShell or open your command prompt. But because of time, I know we're already running late. It's past 12 already. Right. So this is where they are stored. Yep. That place that's circled. And for that's for Linux. But for a Windows, maybe a Windows server or even a Windows system, this is where system logs are stored. Do you understand? Because we're going to come back to these things where I'm saying storing. We're going to come back to these things. Do we understand?
Yes, sir.
Good. So I don't have to explain everything. Firewall, you know what a firewall is, like we explained. And so the kind of logs it takes, right? So I was talking about source and destination IP. All of these things are logged. If I'm reaching out to, in fact, I don't even mean message. If there's maybe like a communication, I know communication in computers it doesn't mean one person is texting anybody. It could be me communicating with a printer, could be me printing, right? So if there's a communication between me and Joseph, it is logged, right? So my own IP, because I'm the source, is logged. The destination IP is logged. The event itself is logged. And the purpose of this is, in the case there is an incident, there is documentation so that we can go back and find out how did these things happen. I gave an example of a ransomware attack that I had to remediate. We had to look at the destination IP because there was a server and there was exfiltration from that server. What exfiltration means is somebody was trying to steal data from that server, right? So the first thing we had to do was to block out that person. And how do we block out a person if our events are not logged? Do we understand? Do you understand?
Sure.
I need you to respond.
Yes, sir.
Is it getting too complicated? Let me know. Is it getting too complicated so we can step it down a little bit?
No,
I'm
go on,
getting
sir.
it.
Okay, good. So, like as I was explaining, if we did not have logs, there's no way we would have been able to identify that destination IP address. There's no way we would have been able to block that person who was stealing our data to sell it to us. Do we understand?
Yes, sir.
And so we know what ports are, we know what protocols are. And so sticking logs of every single thing, right? Allow and deny decisions are basic things, such that I don't know if how it works there, but there's some companies where you cannot open particular sites. Have you ever been on a network like that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Anybody? Like, I don't know the average age, but I know there's some schools of the participants here. But if there's any uni student, I don't know which unis do it, but I know at that time, I think even the uni I went to had it, where some particular sites are blocked. In fact, even the second, yeah,
Yes, yeah.
some
It
particular
applies
sites are
of
blocked.
like there are some sites that can't be open on your phone
Exactly.
unless you put it to like desktop mode or something like that.
Exactly. That's good, right? But why even talking about is like, so say a company, because they don't want, there's different companies have different rules. Some companies have blocked out YouTube. They don't want you using YouTube. Some companies have blocked out ChatGPT. Some schools, if I was in a school and I was trying to set up a network for a school, or I don't want to say school because that's okay, but randomly, right? If I'm setting up, depending on the customer preferences, I can
Like
decide. The customer
restriction.
says, sorry?
Like a restriction to some sites.
Exactly. So the customer can tell me, oh, I don't want people to access betting sites on my network. So you set an allow or deny rule for particular. So you create a group of all the possible betting sites. The thing is, you always identify them by their domain name, right? So we'll get into that. So instead of having to type in www.sportybet.com, you find another. What other betting site is there? I don't know these things, but you guys understand what I mean. Instead of having to list them one by one, okay, Bets Niger, sportybet.com, it's tedious having to tap out all those things. You can group them, right? But that's besides the point. Say you build a network, you don't want somebody to be accessing porn sites on a network. You can group them, and that's basically what allow and deny permissions are. Do we understand? Do
Yes,
we
sir.
understand? Right. So there's things called authentication logs. Authentication logs, as the name implies, when there's a login, there's a logout, there's a privilege escalation. Does anybody know what privilege escalation is? Just let's respond quick so we can wrap up. I don't want to take too much time on these things. We still have quite a number of slides to go through, maybe a couple. Are we following? Does anybody know what it is? Please unmute yourself and speak. Is that Folashade? Folashade, please tell me what privilege escalation is. Okay, Candice said she doesn't know. Okay, Folashade says she doesn't know. Mumi says she doesn't know. So I'm just going to explain basically what privilege escalation is. Privilege escalation is, so when you're setting up a network, each individual has, try to keep this as simple as possible. So there's something in cybersecurity called IAM. IAM. Maybe I can't type instead. Okay, please pardon the handwriting. I'm having to use my touchpad to draw. IAM. IAM means identity and access management. So basically, that's what gives each individual permission to do so. In a company where there are different departments, so say the technology team, the technology team has permission to reset passwords. Finance can never do that. So if there's a problem and maybe you forgot your password or you don't go to finance, because as much as finance, everybody in finance has an account on the company's domain. Finance do not have the permissions to reset your password. Do you understand? Finance does not have the access to log in remotely to your system, but IT can do that because they have those permissions, right? It's the same way that IT does not have access to company financial records because that's not their activity, right? So there's something called least privilege role-based access control. And I know that may seem a little complicated. I'm trying to break this down as much as possible so that we understand. But yeah, that's basically, so privilege escalation is, now say somebody in finance now finds a loophole in the company network where they can grant themselves access to be able to reset passwords, view passwords. Typically, in fact, even the IT guys cannot view your password because your passwords are encrypted, right? But to reset passwords, to request remote access to individuals' laptops, or say the IT team, like the example I gave, having access to financial applications, that kind of thing. Do you understand? And so there's the system logs each of these things. The system logs, oh, Kiton at finance accessed, or Kiton in IT access finance. What financial app do they have now? So say maybe payroll. Kiton access payroll. There's a log of that. Depending on what I do, say, oh, Kiton changed his salary to be so amount. There's a log of that. So every single action is logged. Did you follow? Did you guys follow?
Yes.
Good. So every single thing is logged, right? Because that's what privilege escalation is. Sudo uses admin use. Like sudo is what sudo. I don't know if we're familiar with Linux, but sudo is the admin of a Linux system. So just the way we have admin in Windows, what they call it is sudo. So admin use. So somebody using admin privileges. So DNS is domain name, application logs, cloud logs. I'm not going to go deep into that, but as the name implies, we understand. Does anybody have any questions on that?
How about the C2 communication?
Sorry? What about what?
Third, what's the explanation for the detecting C2 communication?
Okay, I'm going to get into that when I'm explaining SIEM. Who is speaking? Who was that? Was that you, Kwam?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when I'm explaining SIEM, please ask me again, okay? Yeah, good. So what is a SIEM? Everybody read out the full meaning of what SIEM is here.
Security, information, and event management.
Event management.
Good. And so does anybody have even the slightest idea? In fact, you cannot have the slightest idea because I explained this at the beginning of my slide. I explained that in like slide 3. Yeah, I explained it here. What a SIEM is. So there has to be somebody to explain to me who has an idea of what a SIEM is. I'm waiting, guys. I'm waiting.
The same is like the overhaul body for the other web security protocol.
Who's that? Is that you, Kwam?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I owe you something else. So I just put ×2.
Yeah.
Give me a second. I'm trying to write down your name again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Do you still need more answers?
Okay, let's go. Let me hear you.
Now I want to be taking permission before I talk.
No, you don't have to take permission, please. Asa, this is, like I said, I'm not a lecturer. I'm
No,
not.
I can see that the talking is not for free. So, me too, I don't want to talk for free now.
Yeah, you talk.
Don't
Don't worry.
mind
You
me.
want
That's on
to
the
go on.
lighter note. What did you say, sir?
Go on, please go on.
Okay. We said what the same is now. SIEM, right? Um, it is like I like to say the word now. Something what's it called now? Like a security, like a software to okay, let me see what it's like a software to help organizations to address potential threats and vulnerabilities to oversee things in real time. I hope I'm correct.
I think it's just like a security room that monitor what is going in and out in case of any suspicious alert, just to alert you.
Perfect.
That's the way I understand it.
Yeah. So I liked Kayode's explanation because Kayode gave, in fact, everybody gave keywords. Kayode said something about alerts. He said something about, Ibirunke said something about his software. Kwam said something about Central. Kayode said something else that caught my attention. I just can't remember what it is. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a SIEM is basically like the central parts of, so when I was speaking at the beginning, yeah. So I was explaining, when I was explaining these tools, the SIEM is the central technology. Somebody said central, I think that was Kwam, that holds all of this, right? So you have a firewall. The firewall is producing its own alerts. Your EDR is producing its own alerts. You have your threat intelligence fields producing their own alerts, right? And so each of these things, or rather producing their own logs, I'm sorry. So each of these different softwares, or each of these different tools are producing their own. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So each of these tools are producing their own logs. But it doesn't make sense for you to have to be going to Azure, to be going to your FIM. FIM is File Integrity Manager. To be going to each of these, to your EDR, to your vulnerability management scanner, to your threat intelligence feeds. It doesn't make sense to have all of these things open, to be checking them. So what a SIEM is a platform that aggregates all of those logs together in one place. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. So a SIEM is basically the brain of your SOC. And so basically what it does is that it correlates all of those logs. And so what I said is the brain is that how it operates, right? It analyzes activity from each of those tools, right? So each of those resources within your IT infrastructure, and it gives you alerts based on that. Do you understand? Do you guys understand?
Yes, sir.
Please come again, sir. Please come again.
So I'm going to say that again. I took pieces from what three people said, and I was explaining that a SIEM is basically the brain. I went back to my earlier slides where I was speaking about the tools used in a SOC. I spoke about EDR. EDR is endpoint detection and response. I don't want to go into that, but do you guys need me to explain what EDR is? Oh, yeah, good. I'll take the quiet answer. Yeah, good. So all of those tools, your EDR, your antivirus, your EDR, your antivirus, your file integrity manager, your every single thing, your Azure Active Directory, every single thing, all of those tools within your infrastructure, all of them communicate to one place, your brain, right? And it's how the brain works as a SIEM, or rather how the SIEM works as a brain. And so if somebody pinches you, you feel the pain in your arm. Somebody pinches your arm, you feel the pain in your arm. But your brain is what interprets that the nervous action. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to break this down as much as possible to make it layman terms. But okay, let's use a smell. If somebody sprays a perfume here, what perfume is popular? I don't know. Somebody sprays a perfume. What's the part of your body that is able to tell you, oh, what you're smelling is a perfume, not food, not garbage, not whatever anything else may be, is your brain. So what the brain does is it interprets signals from external stimulus. Do we understand? I'm trying to break this down as possible. I'm trying to relate it to things you can understand. So please let me know, do you understand?
Yeah.
Good. And so it's the same way a SIEM works. So the SIEM has the EDR, it has the antivirus, it has all of those things I mentioned prior. And how it works is that it takes logs from each of those tools are sending logs to the SIEM. And what the SIEM does is correlation. Correlation is saying, I gave an example of maybe Kiton tried to log into payroll. Is logging that. I shouldn't have access to that. So it means there's a problem. But there's a log. Say Kiton escalated his privilege. There's a log of that. The time it happened. There's another log of Kiton accessing payroll. There's a log of that, right? And so each of those things. So now say that's one individual. There's another tool that's letting you know that, oh, data was taken from so say the firewall, you say data was exfiltrated from so server, right? There's another log from, I'm trying to break this down as simple as possible. But my point being is that it takes each of those logs, which I also explained as senses if we're talking about the human body, like as 5 sensory organs, right? It takes each of those logs and interprets them and says, oh, if this happened, this happened, this happened, this is the most probable incident. Do we understand? So say if there was a field logon activity, so okay, let me use this incident. So there are logs, like all of these things are logged. There was a field, maybe 10 field logon activities. And I explained here that all of those things are logged. Do you understand? Are we following?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So I was saying that in that place, I explained that all of these things are logged, right? So LCI is a Nigerian company. They are based in Nigeria. We'll assume they have 5 branches. They have a branch in Lagos. They have a branch in Ibadan. I'll use those two because I explained them earlier. They have a branch in Imo State. They have a branch in Kaduna. And they have a branch in Calabar, Cross River. Right? And now those 5 branches. So if our SIEM tells us that somebody is trying to log in to our network from Kano, should he raise a red flag or not? Someone answer. I'm waiting for somebody to speak up. Or do you want me to ask the question again?
Yes, sir. Yes,
sir.
Okay. So I'm saying LCI has 5 centers, assuming in Nigeria. The first and the headquarters, which is an assumption as well, is that they have the headquarters in Lagos. But they also have a branch in Ibadan. They have a branch in Cross River. They have a branch in Imo, and they have a branch in Kano. Did you guys get that?
Yes, sir.
Did we get that?
Exactly, yeah.
Yes. So if it shows that there is a login activity from Kano, should it be a red flag or not? Should we be suspicious if it shows there's a login from Kano? Should we be suspicious of the activity or not?
No, since they have a
No,
center
it shouldn't be.
Exactly. Perfect. So it shouldn't be because you have a branch in Kano, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, say there's a login from South Africa. Is it suspicious or not?
Yes, it is.
Because now I'm teaching you how to
Suspicious.
think. Good. I'm teaching you how to think like a SOC analyst because this is how you analyze logs. So now you have a log that says, oh, there was a login activity from South Africa. Do you investigate it or not?
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes.
we investigate.
Yeah.
That's because it's from outside the country, right? So now say there's a login activity from Ogun. Typically, it is our responsibility as a SOC analyst. It is your responsibility to investigate that log, that alert. Why? Because you don't have an office in Lagos, in Ogun State, but you have an office in Lagos. Do you understand? I'll take that again. There's no office in Lagos. There's no office in Ogun, but there's a logon from Ogun. But you have an office in Lagos. Typically, it's suspicious, but it's something we can analyze and get back quick. So say from Kwam's account, there's a login from Ogun. What we do is we reach out to Kwam. Hi, Kwam. We received a suspicious login from your device in Ogun State. Please revert. So Kwam is going to tell us, oh, my house is maybe in Brega, or maybe I went to Redemption Camp, or I went for my sister's party, and there's office work, so I took my laptop, my sister's party in Ogun State. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So we close that ticket because we have remediated, right? We have found out what was up, and we know, okay, that is closed. It's not a suspicious incident. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
But then we also noticed that South Africa will reach out to, who am I going to use? I think Coyote was speaking before. We reach out to Coyote, and Coyote tells us that, South Africa, no, I'm in my house in Lagos. Do you understand? Do we understand?
Yes.
Yes.
Understand.
Immediately, what do we do? Somebody
Yes, sir.
There's something for whoever answers this correctly. Immediately you notice something like that, what do you do?
You have to investigate on that.
How do you investigate? What's the first thing you do in your investigation?
It's of
We
two
check the
types, sir.
log.
Sorry?
I'll reach out to the server or the person in charge.
Okay, and what are you asking them? Because we're seeing we've reached out to Kylie, and Kylie said he's in his home. So let me give the scenario again. There's a login to our server from South Africa by 3 a.m. Right? We reach out to Kylie, and Kylie says, no, I'm in my house, I'm in my bed, I'm sleeping, I'm here in our Kano office. Right? What is the next thing you do? We've confirmed that is not.
Yes, we investigate maybe and deny the access of that location.
Perfect. Who just answered that? Who was that?
Ajibade, sir.
Ajibade, do I have your name here before? Okay, yeah. So I'm just going to put this. So the first thing you do is you immediately lock out that account, because it is obvious there's a hacker trying to gain access to our systems. Do you understand? Do you understand? So the first thing you do is initiate an account lockout. The next thing you do, like Ajibade said, is that you block that IP address, right? So you look at where's that IP address from, and you block it such that that user cannot access. As much as you've locked out his account, but you've also blocked that IP address on our firewall. Who can tell me why we lock out the account first? Who can tell me why the first thing we do is lock out the account? Does anybody want to try?
Maybe of two types also. Maybe when the real person is trying to log in again, maybe they would like to verify if it's the real person, maybe by sending a OTP code or something, just to verify the real person and the real location.
Maybe because the log ID is already in existence on the system, so the person can actually use it again to come into the network.
Okay. So, like I said, all of you have answered correctly, or all of you have answered to the best of your ability, and I appreciate that. The first reason I would say you lock out that account is because that attacker can have more than one laptop, more than one endpoint, more than one device. If they log in successfully to Coyote's account, it means they have Coyote's credentials. Do you understand? If they have Coyote's credentials and have not locked out Coyote's accounts, they can sign in with those credentials with another endpoint, even though I have blocked the IP of their initial endpoint. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Exactly. So you need to start thinking like this is how you think like a SOC analyst. You need to start thinking like, okay, this situation happened. What could be wrong? How do I remediate it? Do we follow?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good, good. So these are just images of what a SIEM would look like. This is what the dashboard would look like. And the SIEM that is on there is Splunk. Ideally, I would have liked us all to have this, to have downloaded this. I just spoke with Emmanuel in the early hours of my own morning. And shout out to Emmanuel. Emmanuel has been working hard behind the scenes, contacting me for this almost 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, I can't remember. So a lot of work has gone into putting this together, and I appreciate them. But I was saying that in the early hours of today, I think it would have been around 2 a.m. your time because it was like 10 p.m. where I was. Right. And we were thinking that how he was saying, okay, he could have sent the applications I need you guys to download to you guys so we can have it in time for class. But the one problem to that is, I'm sure you guys know that when you're trying to, you need to set up your accounts, you need to, there's a lot of things, you need to configure lots of stuff. When you download Splunk, it doesn't appear like this. Because if you remember, I said that what the SIEM does is that it correlates logs from multiple sources. So, like I said, your EDR, your antivirus, your cloud services. And so there's multiple things we would have had to configure. I don't think you guys have that much time. I don't have that much time. So if at the end of the class you guys still want to do that, we can discuss. But let's just wrap up what we are here for initially. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes.
So this is typically what the dashboard of a SIEM will look like. And things are different, like it works differently for different companies. And or rather for different tools, for different vendors. I've worked with Splunk, I've worked with Microsoft Sentinel, I've worked with Log360, Manage Engine Log360. That was actually where I started out while I was still working for AXA. And so AXA is different. I think I have a couple of pictures of AXA SIEM, but I couldn't use them for security purposes to be able to put out the kind of information. Do you understand what I mean by why I can't use that photo? So this is what Splunk looks like. Are we following?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay, so the time now is
Yes, sir.
12:44. Let me give you guys a 10-minute break. Everybody should be back when it's 12:54 so that you can refresh, drink water, use the bathroom. Okay? Because we're starting to sound dull. So be back when it's 12:54 and we'll resume. Okay? In fact, let's make it 5 minutes, 6 minutes. By 1 p.m., everybody should be back so we can wrap this up in the next 20 minutes after that. Are we good? Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, my
Keto.
system went over. Lost the
Sorry?
network
No
was
worries,
me
no
off.
problem.
I didn't know what to
No
say.
problem. No problem. No problems. I was saying that everybody gets a break. One break till 1 p.m. so that everybody can use the toilets, drink water, grab a snack because we're starting to sound tired. So just take a break, refresh your brain. So we'll be back by 1 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Keto, for the break. We appreciate it.
Is everybody back?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So let's go back to where we were. So do we follow? Are you guys ready? Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I was saying that this is basically a dashboard of what it looks like. So if you look here, you can see resolved notables, right? So we'll see notables are incidents. As the name involved, different tools use different names. On log 360, you'd have seen events, would have called it resolved events, all of this, right? And next thing you see on this here is mean dwell time. Who has an idea of what mean dwell time is? Nobody? Okay, to save our time, I'm going to head straight into it. So mean dwell time basically is the time we spend between resolution and when the incident is discovered, right? So it's not exactly the time it takes to resolve the incident, but it's the time in between. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm just going to highlight each mean time to resolve. I'm sure as the name implies, you know what that means. FT, time saved, dollar saved. Remember when I was speaking about that KPMG incident and I said about how much they would have lost, right? Notables, which I also said is events. So these are the number of events. As a SOC analyst, this is, I don't know the timeline of this, but you'll be dealing with a large amount of alerts that you have to analyze and you determine, oh, is this a false positive? Someone type in the chat what a false positive is while I'm speaking. I'll go back to see whoever got it right. SLA average. SLA means service level agreement, right? And so what it means is that there's a document that states that if I'm going to give an example. An example is that if Wema Bank app is down, so say that's an internal SLA. So that's an SLA between Wema Bank and CBN. And they say that if the account goes down at any point, whatever issue it is should be remediated in at least 4 hours. Do you understand?
Yes,
And
sir.
so that is the service level agreement. It could be anything, absolutely anything, but it's just an agreement between two parties where they decide, oh, if an incident occurs, these are the procedures, these are the expectations. And so here is telling you the SLA average. If you look at here, it says 30% over SLA, meaning that typically we are actually informed. But say at this point, I know that's not a straight line. Okay, let me use here. At this point here, this second line, you can see that that's where the dip starts to happen at this point here. So say we start taking maybe 6 hours, maybe another incident occurs maybe next month and it takes 6 hours, another incident, and we don't meet the SLA. This is a part that shows it. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand? Right. So events by status. Okay, this is what I was talking about. Your job is to, if you see now, this is overview, this is closed, this is all. So your job is to close events, close tickets, right? So you're the one who determines, like I mentioned. So I gave an example of Kwam logging in from Ogun State. You close that ticket because you've resolved that incident. We are sure it is Kwam. But we also noticed the log on from South Africa by 3 a.m. in, I think it was Ajibadi's account. Do you guys understand? So we do not close that. It's an unresolved until we get to the root of it. It stays here as an unresolved event. Do you understand? Do we understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We
Yes, sir.
understand.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can just look at the other, I don't want to spend too much time explaining each, but you can just look at them. There's a problem, please ask me. But yeah, you can look at each of these folders, each of these sections. And the thing about this is it's customizable. You can decide, oh, you want to make notable events here. So it depends on how you are as a person. Typically, I like to have the ones that I use most centrally in this plus. Do you understand? So that I have it more centrally. I can always go there, click on it. The ones that are not used as often, right? So you can customize your dashboard however you want. This here is what the interface typically looks like, right? So you can see there are different panels. There's a security posture, there's incident review, there's investigations, there's security incident intelligence, there's security domains, there's cloud sec, audits, search, and configure, right? And so I took screenshots for I think the first three, and if you look at the each section here, you can see that these are events, these are endpoint notable. So meaning that there's no breach. This is 0. So meaning that there's no alert from an endpoint. Network notable. So this is showing an increase, right? So say the count started at 0 yesterday. Different companies have a different way. There's people that reset it every month. There's people who actually never reset. But it's always good to have like a timeline so you know, okay, in the last 1 month, is there an improvement, right? So this count was fresh. That's why it shows 202. But say the score now is 202, or rather, the number of events now is 202, and overnight there are 6 incidents. When you log back in the next morning, you're going to see 206. And what you see here in this spot, instead of 202, is 6, right? Identity notables. If you remember, that's what I spoke about. I spoke about IAM. And identity notables are identity events. That's the kind where I explained about Quam and Ajibade. That's what you will see. It will fall into this section. Do you guys understand?
Yes, sir. We understand.
Cool. And then
Yes,
audit
sir.
notables. If you notice, I spoke about compliance. I don't know how, again, I'm going to say this. I don't know what the first 6 weeks have been, but I assume you guys have been taught about the branches of security. How there's the red team, there's the blue team, there's GRC. You guys haven't taught that, have you?
We just made a brief, what's it called, introduction about it this morning on that. So.
Oh, I remember. I think Ibi Kule, Ronke. Yeah, Ronke was saying you guys would do it in the last class, I assume. He was saying something like that. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, that kind of restricts my explanation. So I'm just going to have to assume you guys don't know it and not go do a deep dive into it. But yeah, this here and this mode here, UBA. On some platforms, it's called UBA. On some platforms, it's called UEBA, right? So UBA stands for User Behavior Analysis. UEBA stands for User Entity Behavior Analysis, right? So it basically it monitors your activity. Now, I said an alert comes in when there's multiple logs that have been correlated. I'm going to use logon again, but this time I'll use Ronke as my case study. Now, Ronke starts this Zoom meeting. We'll assume it's her who does it every day, every Saturday by 10 a.m. Right? She logs in by 9:15. She opens the room and she's waiting by 9:15. She ends the meeting by what? Remember when I said this is Zoom meeting, I said we'll always refer to this Zoom meeting as a network, as an internal network, as an intranet, right? So just keep that in mind. She ends the meeting always by 12:30 p.m. because sometimes classes run into 12:15, question and answer and all of that, right? So now there's a login to our network, which is this Zoom meeting. Somebody tries to open up the Zoom meeting by 8 p.m. Is that suspicious or not?
Suspicious.
Why?
It is, sir.
Because there's information on the platform that the meeting will start by 11:30.
Good. Right. So the idea is that over time, it has monitored Ronke's activity. It knows that at this time, Ronke typically, so it could be over a period of 3 months. It knows that at this point, Ronke typically should log in. At this point, Ronke is not online. At this point, Ronke is online. So meaning that even if it shows, because I remember I used location and time in the previous one, even if it shows, maybe let's assume Ronke lives in Imo State. Even if it shows the login is from Imo State, there's an alert that is going to come up because it is unusual for Ronke to be online by 8 a.m. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yes.
makes sense.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cool. So we understand. That's what user entity behavior analysis means, right? So if you look at, if you see here, you can see events, you can see different things. Monitor email for brand abuse, malicious PowerShell process, geographical. So look at this one. This was one I just explained. If you read it, it says geographically improbable access detected. Geographically improbable meaning that it is almost a 0% chance that somebody tries to log into our Zoom meeting, which is our network, right? Somebody tries to, okay, let's use LCI. Somebody tries to log into LCI domain from Iran. So it sends you this alert, this one that you see here. and it tells you investigate it, because the chances that there is an LCI staff in Iran at the moment is almost zero, is unlikely, right? So it says you're an alert. Do you guys understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good. So unusual volume of network activity. So there's a type of attack called DDoS. Does anybody know what DDoS is?
Distributed denial of service.
Okay. What's that?
Hi. Olawumi.
Wumi. Okay, good. So that's you. Give me 1 second. That's Wumi again. Wumi. Good. Thank you. So yeah, Wumi, explain to us. Do you know what it is, or you just know? Do you know how it works? Can you explain a DDoS attack, or you just know the meaning of the abbreviation?
I can just try. Like
Okay, give it a shot.
an attacker coming, trying to block access. It's an attacker trying to block access, but not doing it directly. Putting someone in between somehow.
That's actually, yeah. Okay, so I think you are slowly and gradually easing into the perfect explanation. Does anybody else want to try?
Okay, sir. DDoS is like, let's say, maybe a malicious attempt into a traffic, or a disrupt, or just like a malicious attempt to a server, maybe to slow it down, to gain access to the server or something.
Okay, good. So
I
both of
think
you have made very.
it is
Okay,
when many resources are trying to attack at a proper time.
Okay,
when too much of attack is coming up at the same time.
Cool. So I'm just going to explain it briefly. So a DDoS attack stands for delayed distributed denial of service. And how it works is that there is a threat actor, a hacker. And what he does is that he controls. Have you noticed how they say, well, this is something that has been going on for a while, that they say, don't just download from any site, have an antivirus, all of these kind of things. You know what I'm talking about, yeah?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good. So what happens is that an attacker infects multiple systems. Maybe one in Canada, in fact, maybe 20 in Canada, 20 in the US, 30 from Japan, 40 in Ghana, 100 in Nigeria, 50 in Cote d'Ivoire, right? And these viruses are laying dormant in those endpoints. To mean that your laptop could be a botnet now and you do not know, right? And what happens is that threat actor has infected multiple accounts across the network. And what that kind of network is called a botnet. Okay, when there's multiple dormant accounts. And so what that threat actor does is, so say Wumi runs a bakery. Her bakery owns a website, right? I want her to, if you notice in this scene, there was a place where I saw dollars lost, dollars earned. I want her to lose money. So say her peak period is, okay, let's not use caterer. Let's not use bakery. She's a caterer. She provides food services. And let's say today is December 23rd. You know, there's people who want people to have cooked for them for Christmas and all of these things. But because I am a malicious actor, what I do is I use my botnet to send multiple requests to her server, right? And what it does is that it overloads her server and it makes her server dormant, makes it inactive. That's why you hear, oh, server has crashed. Perfect. I just remember something. How many of us have done NYC? Is anybody who has done NYC here?
I've done NYC, but it's been long.
Okay. Who else has done NYC? Actually, has been majority of us should have.
Preparing.
Sorry?
I said some are preparing for it.
Okay, good. I don't know how the dynamic of that is now, but Wumi said she did it before, and at that time, NYSC, in fact, even if you are not registering for NYSC, you will always say, oh, NYSC website has crashed. NYSC server is down. Have you heard that before?
Yes.
Right. And so it's in the same way a DDoS attack works. When there's multiple requests on a server that's beyond its capacity. Do you understand? So say Bumi's catering website, the server behind it can cater to 50 requests per minute, 50 requests at a time, right? But Bumi stole my job, and I hate Bumi. So I want to make sure this December that everybody's cashing out, every caterer is cashing out. Bumi makes 0 kobo. I use my botnets to send requests to Bumi's websites. Mind you, these are false requests. So it's like the website reads it as somebody actually trying to make an order. But what you are doing is that you are overloading that server such that genuine users, people who actually want to make an order, cannot because her server is overloaded. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Any
questions? What part did you understand?
Mr. Kayode, please, I was trying to ask you what parts don't you understand, please. Maybe you should just try and...
The question you just asked now, I don't get it.
I asked if people understand what I said. I didn't ask a question.
Because of my
I was
network.
explaining... Okay, that's fine. I was explaining DDoS. So what we're going to do is, because is Bumi still here? Because Bumi was my case study, Bumi is going to explain to you, just to be sure Bumi understands it. But Bumi, don't be scared to be wrong. I'm here. If you make a mistake, I'll let you finish, but then I'll correct your mistake, okay? So people retain stuff. People understand when they teach other people. So explain to Kayode what you think a DDoS attack is.
Okay, from your explanation, using your scenario, the scenario you used, like as a maybe food seller, I have a website, and at the peak time when I'm supposed to make sales, maybe people coming through the website, an attacker now use his botnet to send in multiple requests, whereby others cannot, real customers that genuinely want to patronize cannot have access to the site.
That's perfect. In simple terms, in layman terms, that's exactly what it is. So we're going to proceed. You can see my screen here?
Yes, we can.
Good.
Hello, sir.
So, yeah?
I think if I can understand, from my own understandable method, just like on our own fuel crisis issue in our country here in Nigeria, when too much of people wants to get the fuel at the fuel station, and you see the crisis is too much, maybe crowd and much, which you can't attend to them, everyone. And in Nigeria system, that everybody wants to get the fuel at the same time. The best thing is for you to chase everybody away and lock the gate and tell them to come back. If I might get it.
Perfect. And so that's a way you remediate a DDoS attack. That's perfect. Because, like I said, you cannot start blocking those IP addresses because it's from multiple countries, multiple IP addresses. Do you understand? So you cannot be blocking them. You know, I said, like, when there's an account like that for a singular login, first thing you do is you block that IP, or rather, the second thing you do is you block the IP. But because there's multiple attacking at the same time, one solution is to expand the bandwidth, right? You expand the capacity, you expand how many users. So say the botnet has, and that's the problem, we never really know how many endpoints are in the botnet. But say the botnet has 75 endpoints in it. Bumi's initial capacity is 50 requests per time. If Bumi says, you know what, Kiton has frustrated me enough, I'm going to use my money, pay for extra server space so that I can double my capacity from 50 requests per minute to 100 requests per minute. That is a solution. Do you understand? So the first thing one way you can do it, but which is not really done because you actually lock out legitimate users, just like the fuel incident you used. There's people who actually want to buy fuel that you are locking out. There's people who are there to make up numbers. I don't know if you know, but sometimes back then in Nigeria, there's because they want to increase the price because they how do I explain this? It's psychology. So say fuel price. What's the fuel price now? What's the price of 1 liter now?
1,840. No.
1,000. Did you say 1,840?
Where? 1,300.
1,300 is still a lot. Well, let's say 1,300. The fuel price is 1,300. If there's 10 people in that fuel station, it is very likely they'll sell that price at 1,300. If there's 100 people in that station, typical Nigerian mentality is we are not selling for 1,300 again, we are selling for 1,500. Let's use bus stops. Buses do that thing. When they see a crowd, they hike up their price because they know if you won't pay, another person will pay. Do you understand? So that's exactly how it works. When there's a large number of people who are genuinely supposed to be there, it's a disadvantage if you lock out everybody, because locking out everybody just means that even the people that are genuine customers cannot purchase. One thing to do is you can find the host. Like I said, the host is the initial attacker, and you can attack that host directly. But the most probable thing to do, when I was explaining remediation, incident response, you have to determine by severity, by scope, and by impact. Right? Those three things are things that should always be at the back of your head. Scope, severity, and impact. Scope is the number of systems affected by that particular incident. Severity is how bad have these systems been affected, right? Do we have 80% of our servers that have been affected? Is it just one server? Is it just a firewall that was breached? That's how you assess severity, right? And impact, business impact, which is what I'm trying to explain. You use those three things to determine your remediation cost, your remediation protocol. And so I'm going to say business impact. Bumi knows that if she locks out the fuel station, nobody buys. But she also makes, or rather, if she locks out the fuel station, she has blocked out the threat actor. But that also means that she makes no sales, right? So it means that she has stopped the attack, but she actually makes 0 sales. So when you're thinking about it from a business impact perspective, that is not beneficial. Like, business impact is gain. Every business is looking to make profits. So as much as you've stopped the security incidents, the business impact is still very severe because she's making 0 naira when her mates are making 5 naira. Right? So thinking about business impact, and that's why I was saying, like, business, those three things determine your cost of remediation. She can then think, okay, if on a normal day I'm having 30 requests, right? That's the regular traffic, 30 requests per time. The botnet has taken over 75 requests every minute, right? So what she then does is, like I said, she buys extra bandwidth and she upgrades the space to maybe 100 requests per minute. And so typically she should have 30 requests, but because the threat actor has taken off 75, she has 25. Do you understand? Now there's 25 genuine customers who can make purchases. Do we follow? So meaning that when you look at business impact, it's not 100% successful because there's 5 genuine customers who have not been able to make purchases who would have been able to. So say she's selling her plate of rice for 5 naira. 5 times 20, 5 times 5 is 25. Meaning that she has lost 25 naira, but she also made 5 times 25, which is, I think, about 75 or 125. Yeah, 125. Right? And yeah. So do you understand? So instead of making 0 naira, what she has done is she has bought extra server space for 30 naira to make 125 naira. So when you're looking at it from a business impact point of view, that's 25 naira that she has made. That's her profit. instead of making 0 naira flat. Do you understand? Okay, good.
Yes, yes, Mr. Kiton. They are all reacting in the Zoom. What you call?
Yeah, I just realized I
Okay.
couldn't see. I'm looking at my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that with. So I was just trying to explain what the dashboard, what your SIM will look like on your own end, right? So this is like I explained, is ranked by urgency, by status, by owners, by domains. I explained what a domain is and how these things matter, but if anybody who doesn't understand can ask me again and I'll go back. And so look, unusual high volume of network activity, right? And so if you look at it, these things are ranked by filters, risk score. So how do you assign risk score? I said that just now. Somebody should answer.
Like from the impact, the impacts on
Who's that? Who's
the
speaking?
server. That's cool.
Kwam. Kwam has been very active.
How to
Good.
detect what?
So how do you determine risk score? So I'm just going to explain because of our time. It's already almost 12. It's already almost 1:30. And I said I wanted to be done by then. So I said scope, severity, and impact. That's how you determine. Those are three major characteristics that you use, or three major pillars that you use to determine risk score. There's also the risk event, there's also the type, it shows the time, it shows the disposition, it shows the security domain, it shows the urgency, it shows the status, it shows the owner, right? And so if you guys remember, I said there's a SOC level 1. So as a SOC analyst, when you're saying, so there's an option here where you can assign. Do you understand?
Mm,
Do you guys understand?
yes.
So I was saying that there is a um as a SOC analyst, you can see the entire backend. So your job is now, because you won't be the only one working. So there's maybe 3 people in the SOC team. When you see owner here, each incident is typically assigned. So as you're scrolling through your SIM, you see an incident. I assign this one to myself and I start working on it. This next one, Kwam assigns it to himself. This next one, Kayode. This next one, Ajibade. So each SOC analyst is assigning to themselves, such that if there's an incident whereby that incident, if there's an event rather whereby that incident is not closed, we know who to hold. Do you understand? So that was also part of logging, where if Ajibade does not close an incident properly, we know that that incident persisted. Who are we going to hold? Ajibade is not doing his job very well as a SOC analyst. Do we understand?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, yeah. So this is security intelligence. Now I said I took screenshots of these three, or rather, yeah, of these three. So this basically is just another it's just basically the interface showing another taskbar of, so you can just look at it, have an idea of what the back end of a SIEM would look like. Mm. So this is what I was trying to explain. There's something called CVSS score. Is a way to categorize risk, but I wouldn't go into that so that I don't go to technical on you, right? So I
We've
was
done
explaining what
something
a
on that.
SIM does. Sorry?
I said we've
Does
done
anybody have
something
a
on
question?
that before.
Oh, you have? Okay, good. Good. So this is how a SIM works. This is how the data flow in a SIM works. You collect logs, then you normalize. So as you see, normalize converts all the logs, right? From different, like I said, you have different tools. You have your FIM, you have your AD, you have your EDR, you have your antivirus. Each of these things send their logs in different formats. What your SIEM does is it normalizes them. If you remember in mathematics, when we talk about normalization of a curve, it means you make everything level terms. Do you understand? It's like, does anybody do SQL here? Do data analysis? I don't know. Okay. But when I'm talking about normalization, it means you put everything in the same format. You make everything in the same format, basically. So that's what normalization here means, right? So collection is aggregating the logs from different sources, from the firewalls, from the endpoints, from the cloud. And correlation is what I explained initially when I first started speaking about SIEMs, is that we are linking each of these logs, like I said, to then determine the kind of impact, right? So earlier, when I said from Kano, or rather from, I can't remember what state I used, okay, from South Africa, right? That is a log, that is an alert. But that alone does not give you a high severity score. But coupled with the fact that it was by 3 a.m., which is not Coyote's typical behavior, it then uses that to create an alert, right? Which is where we are here. Do you understand? So how an alert comes is that there's always a threshold, right? So say now let's talk about log on activity. When you are configuring your network, you always have the basic thing you need to then determine. For the 10 field logon attempts, what do? You initiate account lockout. But these days, security we don't let it get to there. So we say 5. Once there's 5 security incidents, you initiate the lockout. Yeah. And after you initiate the lockout, you force the you force the user to, you force the user to reset their password. Okay. Do you guys understand? So the threshold there was 5 login attempts, 5 login failures. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you guys understand? Let me check if you guys are reacting.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. And so this dashboard is what we could see here. This is what the dashboard looks like. Okay. And then the compliance, I explained that later. And so say maybe every 3 months, every month, at the end of every month, it generates a compliance report to show, how many security incidents have been occurring, how have we handled these incidents, are we breaching any compliance standards, is government going to hold us liable for something, is whatever organization, so maybe CBN, going to hold us accountable, right? So I'll skip that. So this is just basically comparing multiple SIEM platforms because this was in the outline. So this is just basic. The threat detection and responding to multiple threats. And so the good thing about these things is that I've been sort of reiterating them as I go. Because in the beginning of this session, I spoke about IUCs. And I said IUCs mean indicators of compromise. I also said that we'll get to that when we are speaking on threat detection. Yep. And so there are different methods of threat detection. There's signature based, there's anomaly based, there is behavioral, and there's threat intelligence feeds. So I'm going to explain signature based. So typically malware have behavior. That's what signature means, right? So they have patterns that they follow. So you can set your firewall to, so say, I don't want to go deep technically into these things, but let's just assume, let's call it pattern and behavior. Malwares have pattern, specific pattern and behavior, and that's how they attract. So you can say your IP, if so is exhibiting this kind of behavior, block it out. Do you understand? There's something called alert fine tuning or detection tuning. Someone should remind me that I need to explain what that is, right? There's something called, did I put that slide there? I didn't put detection tuning. Yeah. Let me put detection team here. So anomaly based is whereby you set a baseline, which is what I was trying to explain about that account lockout. You set a baseline, you set a threshold, say that our acceptable behavior, LCI, our company, our acceptable risk is 5 times. If you log in more than 5 times, we are not liable. You have to reset your password, right? I also spoke about behavior. Like I said, there's to detect an incident, it could be, oh, somebody logged in by 10 p.m. They never log in by 10 p.m. Do you understand? And threat intelligence fields. So one thing about threat detection is that there are, like, I was speaking earlier on, I was saying about how companies release newsletters. There's also sites, Abuse IP. There's a couple that put out known IP addresses that are malicious, right? Known domains, known hashes that are malicious. So that's what threat intelligence entails, right? Common IOCs, indicators of compromise, and this is what I was saying. These are symptoms, basically, that you use to diagnose an incident. So IP addresses connecting to C2 servers, malicious domain names, file hashes of known malware, suspicious registry keys, right? And there's something called the Meta Attack Framework. And I'm going to let you guys do homework on that. And in your next class, Emmanuel is going to ask you guys about Meta Attack Framework. But basically, what it does is that is a framework set. I'm sure you guys know what a framework is a policy that details, okay, if you encounter this kind of attack, this is how you address it. Do you understand? So it's showing you the techniques, the procedures, the tactics, how you approach or how you handle a particular type of attack. Do you understand? So there's the cyber Q chain, how you, after detection, how you remediate. That's basically it's reconnaissance, weaponize, deliver exploits, install command and control, act on objectives, stopping early is equals to less damage. I mean, that's stopping the attack early equals to less damage. Defenders aim to detect at stage 1 to 3. Right? So it's just saying detect it early. Do we have any questions?
Yes, sir. I have a question real quick, sir.
What's your question?
Yes, sir. Please, sir, is there any conjunction between logs and network cache?
And network, oh, okay. So that word is actually pronounced cache. CACHE, right?
Okay, sorry. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that word is pronounced cache. So a cache is, have you ever logged into a site and it says accept cookies? Okay,
Yes, sir.
so, okay, let's just skip all of that. Let's not complicate it. A cache is a temporary storage of data. It's like a buffer that stores. It's different from logs, right? But you can use a cache to detect behavior, right? So a cache is a temporary storage of data that observes your behavior. Like, so when you log into my website, the first thing you click, what is it? Is it okay? When you log into Miss Kitchen website, the first thing you click, is it African foods? Is it intercontinental foods? Like, different people have different behaviors, right? So what a cache does is it stores your own data in order for future use. Do you understand? So that's sort of different from logs. I just explained what logs are. So do you understand? Did I answer your question?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir.
Are we tired? Are we tired?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm about to wrap up. So that's the last part. So yeah, this basically is the incident detection and response life cycle. This is a framework. I'm not going to try and explain it, but this is the life cycle from preparation to identification. Preparation is, I'm sure you've heard of preventative measures that you take. Then identification, that's you determine what kind of attack it is. Containment, like I said, I was explaining, you can use account lockouts, you can use network segmentation. Eradication is removing the malware. Recovery is restoring from a backup, validating clean assets, and monitoring. Then now somebody asked about playbooks and runbooks. This is all, and like I explained initially, it's always important to always have this, right? for post-incident, so that the next time something like that happens, there's something to fall back on. Yeah. So this was what I set up in the hopes that we'll be able to do some practical work. Because we've wasted so much time on this, I'm gonna wrap up here. And so basically, this is just the key takeaways from what we've done today. A SOC is built on people, process, technologies, those three important aspects. And these things cannot work alone. Logs at foundation, blah, blah, blah. SIEM tools collect, normalize. I told you how SIEMs work. And SOC analysts use signatures, anomalies, and behavior to detect threats. I also explained the incident response lifecycle. And if you remember earlier in the session, I kept saying, make sure you document every single thing, because evidence is legally important. See, there is a breach that occurs and you need to report it to CBN, because there's things that typically happen in the banking world, in finance, where whether there's a loss of data, no matter what kind of incident it is, say it falls in this particular category, you're obligated to report it to CBN, and they decide what they do. Right? So yeah. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you for paying attention. And yeah, I wish you guys the best in your cybersecurity journey. So for Wumi's already saying she's tired, so I had to rush. So for Kwam, Kendi, Ajibade, Wumi, Joseph, and Kayode, I think that's actually even everybody who's in class. So what I planned to do was, Emmanuel sent me token for data, but I didn't know how to politely decline. So what I just determined was I was going to share that money in class for people who actively participate. But the sharing ratio is what's in my head now, because Kwam answered thrice, Ajibade answered thrice, Bumi answered twice, Kendi answered once. So what I was thinking is, if I shared in that ratio, it might not go around equally. So what I thought of was, depending on your career, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of you. My email is in the first slide.
I checked you on LinkedIn and followed you, sir. And then followed
All right. Yeah. So, well, my LinkedIn is not updated. It doesn't have my recent job roles. I think it still shows when I was working in AXA or something. I don't be using that app. But yeah, can you see my screen? What can you see, Abib? Can you guys see my screen?
It's blank.
Okay, so just write it down. All 6 of you that I mentioned your names. My email is kitoajayi@gmail.com. In September, I have connections with a company in Nigeria, a couple of companies in Nigeria. And if you guys are still interested in September, that's when they open up. I can put you guys your names in for internships with, you could work with Wema Bank. I have connections, so we can always make that work for 6. How I see it is that would be more valuable to you than the money I would have probably shared. Right? So it just gives you a head start in your career. So if in September, if you guys are interested, just reach out to me and I'll put your name through and you can begin your cybersecurity journey. I don't have any more advice to give you guys because of time. But just keep your head down, keep working, do certifications, be open to learning. I mean, since you're here, it definitely gives the opportunity, it gives the notion that you're open to learning. So always learn, do certifications, start saving now. That's what I could do now in September. The first 3 people who reach out to me in September, I'll pay for your Security Plus exam. So Security Plus is sort of an entry level career certification. So go and research it. But I encourage you to, the other people, I mean, everybody should save it in mind because just the first 3 people that I'm going to take. Everybody, those 6 people get the internship, but the first 3 people who reach out to me, I'll pay for your Security Plus. And Security Plus is a really big head start in your career. If you have Security Plus, it's easy to, you're no longer coming to learn on the job. They assume you already have some mental experience. So yeah, uh, it was good speaking to you guys, and I wish you guys well. And I hope to hear big things from each of you guys later in the future. Take care of yourself, guys. Bye bye.
Yeah, Mr. Giton, thank you, thank you. You guys, I'm not really seeing your reactions. Do you think, hey, what are you guys doing? Let me just see different type of reactions. Like seriously, we really appreciate you, Mr. Giton.
Everyone, thank you for joining. Mr. Kitombi and you, we are fighting. But everybody, thank you for joining. But seriously, we are really
Yeah,
grateful.
yeah, I
Um,
forgot you. I didn't forget you.
you see,
Don't care. I didn't forget you. I didn't forget you. Are you
it's what
interested in the what's your career path like? I was going to add you, I completely forgot. Are you interested in doing Security Plus? Do you have Security Plus? Well, what's your
sure.
career
I'm
path like? What's
interested
your
in these security courses. What do you
Mr.
say?
Clinton, so nothing for me too, Abi.
Wow.
Emmanuel,
That's
you're my
cheating,
guy
though.
now. Emmanuel,
Ah,
you can reach out to me any day.
how?
It's even Mr. Kayode.
Oh, Kayode. The Kayode
Eh?
speak. Okay,
I
so for
speak.
everybody here.
How
Okay.
do I
I
get
called you
it?
now. Kayode, I called you now. I called your name.
So how do I get mine?
Are you interested in the opportunity that I offered these guys?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Okay, so
very,
yeah,
very.
reach out to me at that time. Reach out to me at that time. Then,
Please help us to type your mail. We can't get the spelling right.
so please just tell me you're from LCI, please, just so I don't, because
O-
I get quite a number of mails.
Okay.
Just tell me you're from LCI, and I'll have you sorted. So yeah,
Hey, Mr. Kiton, thank you so much for your thoughtfulness. Thank you for your kindness.